We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
You're listening to Drunk on Broad, Philly Sports Unfiltered! From Broad Street down to the bank, we bleed red, green, black, blue, and gray. Racial classes, game day pride, Philly's hardware, drunk on the ride. A.G. Elliott flying high tonight, Six Stars lights up, the sky's so bright. Flyers crash like thunder on the ice. Philly swinging, everything's nice. Union chanting, passion loud and raw. City of grit, we break every law. Up, down, drunk on broad. No, we don't sleep. City of champions, running deep. For another round, let's make it loud. Feel it forever. We're Broad Street proud. Drunk on Broad. Yeah, we're home. Drunk on Broad.
All right, Mark, I gotta ask you, what do you think? We debuted the new intro on Wednesday night. It's listen, I will tell you, it went through a couple of AI aggregates to mix the lyrics the way you want it, and go through and then take the lyrics and put it in the AI, a different AI thing to get it to make the song and all the lyrics and stuff. But we just wanted to, we've talked about mixing it up, and we've had the old intro from all the way back from the beginning, from from when it was being done in Rich's garage and basement with Oscar, his buddy Oscar, and Nick, and just wanted to switch it up a little bit. But I gotta get your honest opinion.
Yeah, I love it. 10 out of 10. As somebody who's
Let's
like
go.
a big I'm a big metal fan and
Okay.
and punk fan and hardcore kind of music like that, and it's right up my alley as far as
That's awesome.
as
I love
style and stuff. So
I love
10
it.
out
It
of
was
10.
it's a little Blink 182. It's a little Offspring, and then Joe goes, it's actually a lot of like a Dropkick Murphy. Like it's got some elements of all of that, but like getting the I think it really fits the vibe of like this city in terms of like it's all about the passion of this team, and we're here Saturday morning talking about the Flyers. First, we'll talk about the Sixers on the second half, but we can start with kind of just most recent last night. What a game in St. Louis. First of all, I love the fact that this is like the dad's trip, that like all of the players' dads are on this 2-game trip with them in St. Louis and Dallas. You saw them all. You saw Zegras' dad kind of sweating late in the game when he gets the penalty shot, in overtime. But this team is really playing in a way that if you meet them, you're going to earn every point, because they had every opportunity last night to kind of pack it up. Like they're down 2 goals twice, and battle back, right? They're down 3-1. They battle back to get it tied up at 3-3. And then late in the third, you go down 5-3 and you battle back. And then you get it to overtime, and you had some sweaty moments in overtime where, could have gone either way. and then you get Zegras to come back with a absolutely filthy move in the shootout. That game, I really feel like just encompasses everything that this team is kind of evolving into being, and really giving themselves the opportunity to like battle for that, the back end of that playoff spot, which I think is the next step for this group of players is like getting that playoff experience. Just talk to me about where you are in your in being down there and covering the team, where you are with these guys.
Yeah, it's been a good year in terms of there's a lot of legitimate improvement for this group in terms of like I think the Flyers are really legitimately becoming like um, a legit uh, well balanced defensive club. Like they
Yeah,
don't give up a whole lot. Now, granted, last night they gave up 5 or whatever it was. Um, not the best. It was funny because like
yeah,
they haven't really scored a lot at 5-on-5, and then they break through. I think all of those goals were even strength goals, um, and so they break through, but the game is also like they also kind of lost some of that structure along the way in terms of going back and forth. But no, I mean it was an entertaining game. I think ideally you would like to see them start to win some games in regulation, but like
yeah.
you said, I mean like they're definitely a group with a lot of resolve. Um, you know, uh, they play again tonight in Dallas, so when you consider that, and you're down multiple goals on the road, knowing you got to play the next night and travel and all that,
Yep.
it's easy to kind of just be like, well, I mean, we'll get them tomorrow, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. They kept coming. Um, they got a great game from Owen Tippett, 4-point night. He's kind
Yeah.
of
That goal to tie it up at 5. I
yeah,
mean,
playing.
it reminded me of like a seeing eye single. Like it
Yeah,
literally, it went like looked like it went in the pocket between someone's elbow and someone's upper body. Like it kind of snuck past. Like, but those are like he's playing like they're all playing really well. The trade for Trevor Zegras
oh
just keeps looking better and better and better. Um, Not for nothing. I know it was a separate trade, but like Cutter Gauthier kind of looks as advertised, which is I know going to be a sore subject for Flyers fans for years to come. I'm hoping that there's a playoff Stanley Cup meetup at some point down the line. Um, but getting Trevor Zegras for what they gave up, you can't put a price tag on what he brings in terms of what he's doing for this offense.
man, what an addition he's been. Um, great fit. Um, Upgrade offensively in every way. I was very like I was very much beating that drum over the summer. Like I thought like
Remember, no,
when I heard he was available and I had read um sometime last year that the Flyers had interest and all, and I was like, well, I can kind of see why. I
yeah,
this that's the kind of player I think they should target. Uh, the deal comes through in the summertime, of course, dirt cheap compared to like when you look at what he's doing now. You can't, like you said, it's hard to put a price tag on what he's done, and
for sure.
they've moved him around a couple different positions. Like he's not really playing center right now; he's playing wing, um, and his play hasn't really dropped off much. Like in terms of like he's just kind of, um, he just looks so much more comfortable, and I think sometimes that happens too. Like in when you're a team that's been rebuilding for a long time, kind of like the Ducks have,
Yeah,
and you're picking at the top of the draft as often as you are, sometimes you just run out of space, I think, to just get guys ice time and
yeah,
things like that. And, they were comfortable letting him go. And clearly for what they gave him up for, and he's over a point per game pace right now, and but even before all the injuries, he did have some problems injury wise uh, in Anaheim, and once getting over that, and you know being in a situation where he can kind of do what he does, um, it's got there was always like it was always there. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
it was always like in there. It was just he was certainly on his way. I mean, like very early in his career. I mean, I think he had back-to-back 60-point seasons with the Ducks before he had some issues with injuries and things like that, and it kind of slowed him down a little bit. But now that he's healthy again and all, I mean, like uh, he's been excellent. I mean, and a legitimately fun player to watch, because
For
he's
sure.
really great with the puck and great puck skills, a million moves at his in his bag of tricks, and just a
I
fun
mean,
player.
He's got a fun bag of tricks.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, it's it's nice to have a player like that, and then I know that we're not getting the production that we thought we were going to get this year from Mitchkov. I know that you want to touch on the whole locker room drama with the Couturier post game comments.
Yeah, I it wasn't that big of a deal to me. Like
Okay, so I'm glad that you kind of feel the same way, because
yeah.
I kind of read it like this was like I'm gonna hold you accountable. Just kind of is what it is. If we want to get where we need to go, we need you to be better.
Mhm.
Kind of similar to the AJ Brown press conference, not press conference, but like the locker room thing. It's like, great, we won last year, but like if we want to get where we want to go, you got to get me the ball, and we got
Yeah,
to be better.
right.
Those two things happened in the same week, and they both kind of felt like in they were kind of leading the conversation in the same direction. Like,
Yeah.
we need to be better so that we can be better.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think too, Michkov has been a lot better. Um, even before he had the back-to-back games with goals, or the three straight games with goals, whatever it was. Um, I thought, like, when I was down there covering some games, and I thought, like, watching him play, I was like, I feel like it's coming, you know, like,
Mhm.
and then he rattled off three straight, and I think when you're in, you know, I look at that game against Ottawa last weekend, I believe it was
Yeah,
last Saturday. He scores in that game, and that is, like, to me, a really positive sign
yeah,
that his game's turning a corner now, because
for sure.
you know he's one of these guys too. I remember Claude Giroux was like that as well. Like, he looks really comfortable playing with
Yeah.
someone on his back, which is like a talent in of itself. Like, when you have a player attached to your hip, some guys, like, they lose the handle on the
Mhm.
puck and things like that. But they're both really comfortable type of players where, like, he fights off a check, he kind of throws like a reverse hit into the guy, creates a little bit of space, wheels out into the high real estate ice, and gets a look at the net, takes a great shot. That's like a real positive sign that I think he's feeling good, and that, like, his game's starting to the wheels are starting to turn again for him. And that looked like a goal he scored quite a bit last year.
Yeah.
So, um, I think his game's kind of coming along. It's definitely been a process here, slow start, but I have less of a problem with that. I mean, as of right now, the Couturier thing, like, I think people made, you know, Couturier. There was a play where, in overtime, which, a lot of people are kind of like trying to connect the dots to, like, where Couturier
Right.
looked annoyed at Michkov on an offside play in overtime. But really, that play was on Couturier. Like, he kind of skated into Michkov's lane.
Right. Okay.
And
Like, I'm glad that I'm kind of like what as you're talking, I'm like, okay, yes, yes. Kind of like I'm like, I think we are constantly looking for something. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes that creates a scenario where we're trying to find something that's not there. And we're
Right.
trying to like take this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. And we're trying to put it together. And we've got like 3 or 4 puzzle pieces, but they don't all line up exactly, but we're trying to make them. It's like that one puzzle piece that you're like, I'm trying to shove it in there and make it fit. And you're like, wait, I'm
Yeah.
going to get the scissors out. I'm going to cut it a little bit. And like, this to me feels very, like, very akin to that. Cause it's like,
Mhm.
you, you, as a group, you guys are playing pretty well. Like, you're not playing at the top of the East, which no one really expected them to be, but you're also not playing at the bottom either.
Mhm.
You're in that mix where you're competitive. Even the games that they're losing, very rarely this year are they losing games and getting their doors absolutely blown off.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me into the next part of the conversation, which is the off-season edition of Dan Vladar.
Yeah.
And he has really given you, I'm just going to, the professional goalie. Like he's coming in and he's giving you a legitimate shot at being in the game every night.
Yeah.
And that's kind of slotted Erison into being in that, like, I'm going to play a third of the games. I'm going to, again, last night gives up 5 goals, but there were some plays that he made that kind of kept them in the game that kind of, I know there was one save late where they were down 5-3 and he makes a really good save. And if he doesn't, 6-3
Mhm.
late in the third feels a lot different than
Yeah.
5-3. So like talk about Dan Vladar because Dan Vladar has been a, a huge addition in terms of it was a big piece that they were missing last year because the goalie was just a sieve at most points during the season last year.
Yeah. He's another one. He's been so good. Um, and I think he was a goaltender too, like prior to this, that there was like something there, but he really wasn't getting opportunities to like play
For sure.
anywhere he ended up. Um, stops in Calgary. He was behind Dustin Wolf, who's a talented young goalie that they have out there, the Flames, and um, they were making a push for the playoffs last year, though, and they were split in time. And Vladar was playing, so his game was starting to kind of come together. He was in
Yeah.
Boston, I think, prior to that, and he really he was behind Swayman and those guys, Linus Hallmark. Um,
Yeah. I have Mark, I heard a story about his situation last year
mm,
and how he was really wasn't he was being put in situations where like they were trying to get the young up and coming goalie in the most opportune scenarios.
yeah,
And Vladar played essentially all of the adverse conditions, like games on the road, games back to back, games like a lot of games on the road where and he kind of did hold it down for being in a position where he was asking be that he was taking on a majority of the workload. He was playing in most of the back to backs, especially when the back to backs were on the road. Um, and he was kind of a guy that they kind of found that they kind of once you're able to kind of look past all of those scenarios and be like, all right, so if we give this guy an opportunity to be a number one, like, is he a guy that's going to carry a team to a Stanley Cup? Probably not. But can he be professional enough so that we feel like we're in games and all of the players in front of him can develop? I got to imagine that was the conversation in the offseason.
yeah, and just like really from like you want to talk about like acquiring a guy kind of under the radar, not really like well known in terms of like being like a starter, but everything kind of worked out in the way that they had hoped, right? Like he
Yeah.
wanted to come here from from everything that I've read and have gathered. He was excited
Mhm.
about getting an opportunity to be a starter somewhere. Flyers were a situation where that was plausible. Number two, also, where it was like I had said at the top of the show about the Flyers becoming like a legitimately good defensive team. It's good for a goaltender when there's like that level of like detail. The
Yeah.
Flyers here in these are good examples. These last couple games, um, game against Edmonton earlier this week, I believe on Wednesday. Um, the Oilers kind of took it to them.
Yeah.
Many throughout long stretches throughout that game, dominated shots, all those other things. But a lot of those, I don't want to say empty. It's kind of like an empty possession. If there's a
Yeah.
lot of zone time, a lot of cycle time, yeah, it's wearing you down. But then you're keeping everything to the outside. You're really not giving anybody any prime real estate, and they
Right.
take like a long range shot with a clear line of vision, well, that's going to help
For
your
sure.
goaltender.
Yeah.
NHL goalies are too good; they're going to make those stops. So I think like Tocchet's system has also been something that's helped Vladar in terms of, and that's not to take away from how good he's been,
Mhm.
because he has been good. And there are times where things have gotten chaotic around him, and he's been excellent. He's somebody too, right? 6'4", 6'5", big guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to like move a lot in there, but he's capable like post to post. He's pretty agile and he's got good reflexes for being a big guy.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see now that he's in here playing and stuff, maybe what the Flyers were looking at. I mean, it was very and I've seen we've vaguely made connections here, right? We can't compare the two outright yet, but I think like very Howie Roseman esque from Danny Briere finding like
Yeah.
a move like that and getting a guy in here that
Um,
has played as well as he has. So he's been
on,
good, man. He's been really
on
good.
a completely different level, Mark. Without take the awards off the table,
Yeah.
but very akin to finding Zach Bond,
Yes.
right? Special teams, fringe defensive player, doesn't contribute a whole lot, but they saw something that said, we can do something here. If we change his role a little bit, if we give him a little bit more opportunities, that to me is like, is Dan Vladar going to be in the conversation to win, you know, best goalie? Probably not. Kind of like Zach Wall was in the conversation for defensive player of the year. Probably not.
Yeah.
But I think identifying the player that is in a different system that's being utilized differently. That, hey, we can do something with this if we just kind of tweak a little bit. Um, he seems like he can be that guy.
Yeah.
Um, and then they're getting contributions from guys all up and down the roster. Guys that you're surprised from the contributions that they're making.
Yeah. I think for like the Cates Forrester Brink line has been so good,
Yeah,
going back to last year. But I mean, there's been moments this year where Bobby Brink has been really, really good. Um, and I think a lot better than maybe people would have, anticipated. Um,
yeah,
Christian Dvorak, another addition. You know, I can see why. I mean, it's a 1 year deal. They signed him to a 1 year deal, and the money was a little bit on the higher end. But watching him play,
right,
I can see what they paid him for, which was his versatility. He can play
for sure.
anywhere in the lineup. He could play center. He could play wing. You could skate him in your top six on a second line. You could skate him on your fourth line, and not lose anything. Like he kind of gives you the same
Yeah,
everywhere he plays. And so those are the two guys that kind of stick out to me as like additions where I was like, or not in Brink's case as an addition, but a guy that's kind of like taking another step. Uh,
yeah. I mean, Dvorak was a guy that that kind of jumps off for me. Like they brought him in on essentially like a 1 year prove it deal.
Mm,
They paid him a little bit more because I think he probably had other opportunities.
sure.
So they made it they made a financial decision to like not overpay, but pay a little bit more than maybe they used to. But right, but when you talk about production early on in the season, right, you're talking about a guy who's got 12 points. Um, take it for what it's worth, right? But leads the team with plus minus.
Mm,
So having having that effect on while he's on the ice, making sure that like you know that stat can kind of kind of go. You can kind of read it for what it is, but like in 17 games to be at 12 points, and he's doing he's as advertised. He's
yeah.
not being more, but he's giving you exactly what you thought you were going to get. And again, the contributions that he's making for the other guys when he's on the ice, it does make you feel good about that acquisition.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that they are going to be in a position that they are going to want to add at the trade deadline? I know it's early.
Yeah. Um. So my belief on that is, and I think that this has happened in the past, where like when you're whether you decide that you're a rebuilding team, you're going to be a seller at the deadline, uh, an aggressive seller where you're just selling off everything, or um, on the flip side, you're being like a conservative buyer, or you're going for it. Wherever you're landing on
Right.
how you're going to approach that point forward. One thing that Briere says all the time, and uh, I agree with, but sometimes I don't think GMs always like act on that, is that the players dictate how long the rebuild is.
For sure.
If the Flyers were to continue to win games and we're sitting in above the playoff cut line in a wild card spot or whatever, I'm buying if I'm the team. Because, and I think that's something that happened in the past where
Yeah.
during, whether it was the Ron Hextall years when he was in charge or whatever, it was like they never really got aggressive enough when the team had shown throughout the first half of the season, in my opinion, of course, that
Yeah.
like, hey, a piece or two here where we mortgage a piece of the future, not the whole, not, don't sell the farm, but
Right.
a piece of your future to get a legitimate upgrade somewhere at the deadline. Could that be the difference between, winning a round and then who knows, once you get to round two, guys, things start to get whatever. Um, and guys are beat up at that point and all. Who knows? Goalie gets hot. We've seen it all the time in the playoffs.
I was just about to say, Mark, the whole key in the NHL in the playoffs is just be in.
Just get in, yeah.
If you're in, you got a shot, because we have seen teams like you look at the last deep Flyers run
Mm,
when they match up with Chicago.
yeah.
That was a team that squeaked in on the last day, on
Last
the
days.
on the last day, literally on the last day in a shootout. Like
Yeah.
they they had one thread left,
Mm-hmm.
and they were holding on for dear life, and they got in, and then they
Yeah.
went on a run. And I think we've said it now for a couple years, and I think two seasons ago when they were kind of in the conversation, and then they traded away a bunch of pieces, and things kind of fell flat late in the season, and then last year it just never manifested into anything. I think this team and the players on this team are ready for that experience, because I think even just having the experience of being in a playoff round, um, is going to be important for them moving forward. Because right
Yeah.
now, like obviously, still very early on in the season, right? but you've got 21 points, and you're in a group of 6 teams that either have 21 or 22 points,
Hmm.
which means you're playing well enough to be in the conversation.
Right. Right.
Which that's all I can ask.
Right.
Even if that means that you might get matched up with a Carolina team that's playing really, really well. New Jersey has kind of bounced that they've had their bounce back and they're playing really well early. Um, Pittsburgh is playing really well,
Yeah. How about that? Yeah.
which I don't know that I would have told you was a thing.
No.
Um,
No, I
and
wouldn't.
then um, so I'm just I'm curious. I'm curious to see, but the East is very like bunched together right now.
Very
It's
much.
like even a team like Washington right now who's sitting in at the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sitting at 17 points, which they have a good 2 week stretch and they'll be right back in the conversation.
Yeah. They're 4 points out of like the last. They're in last, but then they're 4 points out of a playoff spot right now.
Yeah,
But it's very jumbled. Yeah. Um, so
yeah,
yeah, but I do believe that. I like often when I hear that, it's like you know about players dictating the rebuild. It's like yeah, like they very much do. I agree with that sentiment, but it's
yeah,
then like your decision making has to match that thought process. When it
yeah.
comes to, it's kind of like you can say that, and like for example, I mean, like we were talking about Dvorak, and he's a player on a 1 year deal. He's familiar with Talkin as well. He played for Talkin when he was coaching the Coyotes, and he's also like he's on a 1 year deal. I don't know that the Flyers or anything like that are thinking like extension or anything like that with him. I think he was a guy that was going to hold the spot because eventually I think the Flyers believe that a player like Porter Martone is going to be ready to jump in a year from now. So
I'll tell you what, Mark. I have I love catching the Michigan State hockey highlights
yeah,
because it's I mean it's the same thing that we kind of saw with Gautier
mhm.
um, before that whole thing fell apart, and I'd be curious to find out on some level why that like fell flat on a dime because it seems like everything was cool until it wasn't,
Yeah,
and then they were just like, "Yep, we're out." And I
yeah,
was like I almost need like a 30 for 30 on that one.
yeah. That would be
Just kind
nice.
of like do a little digging. I don't need a whole. I need like I need you to give me like 40 minutes of like why this thing fell flat so fast.
Yeah, we definitely need an investigative piece on that to find out exactly what went down. And
Because Mark, to imagine the production that you're getting out of that player
mm,
with the group of players that you have now.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, obviously, minus Drysdale because that was part of that deal. But like,
right. Yeah, and
does
then
give it? Does, I do have a little FOMO
yeah, no, it's true. And then also though, like I guess the question would become like, if they don't trade Gauthier, do they do they end up getting Zegras? Uh, you know,
True.
so like that's also like another part of it where it's like I'm pretty happy with like Jamie Drysdale too. I mean, like he's made legitimate improvement here,
Definitely.
and he
Definitely.
plays a tough position. Like defend, defenders develop slower because their job is hard. You know what I mean? Like it's
Oh,
hard
very
work,
much so.
and
And
I think Jamie's been um, really, really solid. I mean, I think the I know he's certainly. I know the analytic numbers love him. Like and but I mean, like I legitimately watch him play, like and you see him like in one-on-one situations and how he defends guys. I mean, he's really like he's a much better, well-rounded defender than more of like just a straight offensive-minded defenseman. And I think that was kind of what people thought of him prior.
yeah,
So like his overall game is really solid. and he's making legitimate strides. It's just he plays a less sexy position. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
most definitely. And Mark, when I brought up trade deadline,
Yes.
back end D is kind of where if I would have to identify a place where you could make improvements that would affect both sides of the ice,
Hmm.
back end D is one that you can see in some of the upper echelon teams what that does in order to propel the offensive side, in order to be able to
Yeah.
get that side of the game going. Um, and who knows? I just I'm curious to see what that could potentially look like, and if they are buyers, if they do look at opportunities to be able to get guys in position to you know kind of move this thing forward a little bit.
Hmm.
But I genuinely think that like I like the direction that this team is going because it's the thought mark of both of these winter teams playing better when both of them have been so bad for so long.
Yeah.
Um, the thought of having a summer, I'm gonna ask you to kind of go into the most optimistic dream scenario here.
Yeah.
That in the summer you have a combination of Phillies games on, 5, 6 nights a week, but then at the X, whatever they're calling it,
Yeah.
you're alternating Sixers and Flyers playoff games,
Oh man.
right? Like
Yeah.
in 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 our height of fandom, right? That was pretty common
Hmm.
that you had those windows of time where it was they were playing every other night. It was and that that downtown stadium area was just there was no quit. It was
Yeah.
hype. It was there was something going on every night.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for where this city is, I think we're kind of ready for it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of where my thought is. My thought is like I'm really excited about that possibility to
Yeah.
get to
That,
that,
I mean, that seems that would be awesome. Like I would love to
right?
see that. When I covered last week, I covered the Ottawa game, and afternoon game was 1 o'clock start. And when I got down there, I usually get down there early, and I was actually surprised at how many people. The weather was nice and all, and I'm sure that played a factor in it. But I was surprised at how many people were down there already, like tailgating, like for the
Okay.
game, and it was kind of like, yeah, the weather was good and all, but it was kind of like um, I had not seen that in like the last year that I've been like covering the team, like getting there early. I was surprised at how many people were there
Okay.
early down there, and the music was going, and people out playing, like throwing the football around in the parking lot and stuff. And I was like, wow, like people are like really like they're here, you know what I mean? Like, and I
Okay.
think it has like um, you know maybe it's starting to turn the corner for like even some of your most casual like fans of the
Yeah.
team that like the Flyers game's a place to be again. So uh, that'll be great. I would love to see that.
Um, Mark, you want to guess the year?
Oh man,
I'm
that they were
only asking
both
because I
in.
just I just looked it up while we were talking. While you were
Uh,
talking,
was it 2012?
was nice work.
Wow.
2012. 2012. So the Sixers played. They lost to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference semis. That was the year that they beat the Bulls in the first round when the Bulls like had like a
Yeah,
plethora of injuries.
yeah.
And
Derrick Rose went down.
The Flyers lost in the Eastern Conference semis too to the Devils.
Yep, I remember that.
So
That was the same year they had the big crazy series with the Penguins in round one.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
they beat the
that was
Penguins
cool.
4-2.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that's my driving force. So
Yeah.
like I'm I'm excited for that opportunity. And listen, on the other side of this, we'll talk all things Sixers. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna play a little intro outro. You'll hear the new intro music again, but we'll be back on the other end. Go Flyers.
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
You're listening to Drunk on Broad, Philly Sports Unfiltered. From Broad Street down to the bank, we bleed red, green, black, blue, and gray. Racial classes, game day pride. Philly's hardware, drunk on the ride. The Elliott flying high tonight. Sixers lights up, the sky's so bright. Flyers crash like thunder on the ice. Philly swinging, everything's nice. Union chanting, passion loud and raw. City of grit, we break every law. Down, drunk on broad. No, we don't sleep. City of champions, running deep. For another round, let's make it loud. Feel it forever. We're Broad Street proud. Drunk on Broad, yeah, we're home. Drunk on Broad.
All right, brother. Still feels good second time around.
Yeah. I need
I'm,
to get that on my Spotify or something.
listen, Mark. Listen. I can tell you it's on. I did put it. I was able to upload it into the YouTube channel, so
Oh,
it's
cool.
there. I
Oh,
tried to put it in the Spotify, like the feed,
yeah.
and every time I uploaded it, it like goes up and then it disappears. So I don't know if that has something to do with like AI music or copyright or something. I don't know if
Right.
if something's triggering it, but it's there. It's in the
Cool.
yeah, it's there. But it's we're kind of turning another page and try to keep things fresh. It definitely gets me going in the morning. It's
Yeah.
the kind of thing where it's like there are some interesting reminders of how passionate this fan base is, but
Mhm.
this Sixers team, which we kind of had no expectation going in, you're 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 seeing the evolution of this team. This team is now pivoted from a team that was for the last handful of years centered around Joel Embiid, and rightfully so, because he was a huge impact player. And now we're starting to see Maxey take on that role. You're seeing the influx of talent with BJ Edgecombe. You're talking about the opportunity to go, small guard lineup when you put Quentin Grimes out there. You're seeing contributions from guys from some depth pieces in the roster. You're seeing a lot of athleticism, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. And you're not seeing Paul George. Paul George is quietly healthy. I'm putting that in air quotes. but quietly absent from the lineup. Um, Curious to see when he is ready to play, how they integrate him back in, so that you're not losing the fast-paced play that you're getting.
Mhm.
Um, and Joel is now, essentially day to day, week to week with the opposite knee. Um, it just, for I think his role is as a role player. He's essentially become a role player that needs to come in and be a defensive presence and block shots. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be the center of an offense, because you can kind of see in some of those early opportunities when he is on the court, things kind of like, kind of like it essentially stops the record from, from play. And you just see the pace of play, kind of everything kind of drops. Curious to see, where that goes. But talk to me about this team that has played an exciting brand of basketball in this early part of the season.
Yeah, it's been very exciting, and I know that like on some of the other fired up sports pods that we had done, we had vaguely talked about the Sixers on there, and it was like the overall sentiment was basically like that it was early and stuff, but and I understand like the NBA season doesn't really pick up until after Christmas, right? Like that's usually when we start to see like playoff
It's when
pictures
it
and
really
everything.
starts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when it really starts. Guys start, But I think for this Sixers team in particular, like getting off to a good start was really imperative. I think it was imperative for everybody, not only in the organization but for the fan base as well, to kind of see. We needed to see something positive to start the year,
Yeah.
and uh, oh my god, like Tyrese Maxey, uh, I did not. I'm gonna go. I'll go ahead and say it. Like I didn't expect this, and or think that his game could take. I thought the player he was kind of the player he was, and
Yeah,
I didn't have a problem with that. I liked him a lot.
for sure.
Um, but vocal point of the offense, putting up, dropping 30 every night, hitting big
Yeah,
shots, just practically unguardable. Like I'm just like I just was surprised by that, and pleasantly surprised. I'm happy about it.
for sure.
Um, and VJ's been a lot of fun. Everything that he chips in and does. He had 18 last night in last night's loss to Detroit. Um, and you mentioned Quentin Grimes contributing. I really like Dominic Barlow. I think I said that after we watched
You,
some of
you,
the
Mark, that
preseason.
was a guy that you had mentioned over the summer.
Yeah,
After he becomes one of those offseason additions,
yeah,
and it was a guy that I had never heard of. A
yeah,
guy that and you had mentioned it, and you're like, that's a guy that I'm like, I'm I'm high on, right? And he has been a really really good addition.
yeah. He had a double double last night. Like, pretty much coming off the bench. But I mean, like, geez, like, you'll take a double double off the bench.
No, right? You get, and listen, you get the Trenton Watford with the triple double a couple games ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they're getting these contributions, right? The defensive presence, the shot blocking presence that you're getting from Adim Bona,
yep,
right? He's coming off and playing his role of being that athletic, right? I'm just going to go up and try to block every single shot. There's been, a handful of games where he's got these defensive stretches where he'll block like two or three shots in a row,
yeah,
just kind of going up one after another after another.
yeah,
Um, VJ Edgecombe with a couple of chase down blocks.
yeah,
Um, they are building a this next evolution of the NBA. When you look
yeah,
at how teams are being built,
yeah.
they're assembling a group of players that are playing really well.
Yeah. I like too, like, and because he had a double double as well last night, but I should mention, like, I've really been happy with, like, with dealing with the up and down with Embiid and some of the injuries and stuff like that. Andre Drummond looks like 5 years younger than me out there. Like, People forget. Like Andre Drummond, remember at one time when he was in Detroit, he was like legitimately good. Like
Like defense, like in the conversation for defensive player of the year, kind of good.
yeah, he was like he could go like and he would put up like absurd numbers. Like he'd have like 17 points and 17 rebounds or something like that.
Yeah,
And he's been good, giving you the minutes he's giving you is like a veteran
yeah,
guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands. He's kind of like, he's kind of off doing some other things. I mean, he had a good closeout defense on
yes.
against Derek White, I
God,
think,
yeah. The Celtics
against
game.
against the Celtics earlier this week. Justin Edwards had a great game in that game. Was
Yeah,
unconscious from three. What do you go 8 for 8 or something like that in that game?
right.
Um,
Hometown kid.
Hometown kid, awesome story. Just a lot of fun. Like I know, like last night they lose to the Pistons, and I think that Detroit team's a really good young, solid team, man. Like
I I hate to say this, Mark. They are good.
yeah,
They're good. They remind me a lot of this Sixers team in terms of the athleticism and the talent. Um,
mm.
Cade Cunningham is a guy who didn't play last night. Excuse me. Woo! I'm gonna have to edit that one out.
The allergy
But
season,
yeah,
pollen, all that stuff.
yeah, it's on overdrive.
Yeah.
But you've got guys that that are playing really well.
Mhm.
They remind me a lot of this Sixers team. They've a guy that we haven't seen in a while, right? B-ball Paul was on the court balling out last night.
Yeah.
I mean, they and the Pistons were down a handful of players, right?
Mm.
So they got into their depth a little bit, and they played really well. They battled. Um, they got a lot of talent. I think for me, Mark, on the Sixers team, the guy that has been the catalyst for all of this change is VJ Edgecombe. He's
Yeah.
brought in a lot of youth, a lot of energy. Um, it in the same way that I feel like Maxey did that when he came in. VJ Edgecombe playing a bigger role now than Maxey did then, right? When he was playing with Embiid and Harden and
Right.
that group. But like, when you look at his debut, right? Putting up 34 in the debut.
Mm.
Um, the fact that he's you know he is giving you everything, right? And then to go through those first three games, right? To go 25, at least 25, 5 and 5 through the first three games, giving you the production on the court that they just didn't have.
Yeah.
And I think that has opened up things for Tyrese Maxey, right? He's got a 4-game stretch early on in the season where he goes 39, 43, 28, and 40.
Yeah.
Like it's opening up a lot of things for both of them. Now, listen, you have the dud of a game in Cleveland where I think they kind of just it's one of those like early season hit the wall kind
Yeah.
of see and I know that they like to use the term that it's like a scheduled loss,
Right. Right.
but you know the way that they have played early on in the season has just it's made it's made their brand of basketball very exciting, and I'm
Yeah.
curious to see Jared McCain has gotten healthy, come back, how he gets integrated. I know that they are going to give him a little bit of an opportunity to go play with the Bluecoats and kind of get his
Yeah.
the conditioning and stamina up, where he'll be able to go and play long stretches and kind of and play it that way.
Yeah.
Um, how do you think that they integrate him? Because it's almost like they have a glut of like the same guy.
Yeah. I was wondering about that because when they activated him, I think he got into a couple games, right? Didn't
Yeah.
he play a
Oh, yeah.
couple? And then it was like they kind of realized, well, you know, he probably needs a conditioning stint. And once they sent him down and just to get his legs under him again, it is interesting how they're going to integrate him because I would imagine that would be I guess it would impact like a guy like Justin Edwards and his minutes and things like that.
Yeah,
Um, I would think. It's interesting. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but I know that they're going to have to get him in. You know, they're going to have to work him in some
yeah,
respect.
for sure.
And
'Cause you look at that group, right, and
yeah,
you're looking at Jared McCain, you're looking at Tyrese Maxey, you're looking at VJ Edgecombe, you're looking at um, who Quentin Grimes.
oh,
Like
Quentin Grimes.
you've got four guys, right, that are all not the same, but kind of the same. It's like
Yeah,
they're all, same house, same street, different house. Like
yeah,
um, you know, I think one of the funnier things that I've noticed throughout this season, right, is Kyle Lowry on the bench, which essentially is like he is like the like he at what point in time does he just become the assistant coach?
yeah,
Like it's essentially the role that he is playing, right? He's played 3 minutes all season. The only guy who's played less is Hunter Salas. Like
yeah,
like at what I think at some point, right? Because that essentially, I think having him here is a really important role because he brings a definite level of experience in the room.
yeah,
Having essentially to quote Brett Brown, right? Having the adult in the room.
yeah,
For that young group of guys that we just mentioned, those four guys, having a guy like Kyle Lowry, having a guy like Eric Gordon, I think there is an experience role that those guys can play.
mm,
Um, whether or not they need to take up a roster spot,
yeah, yeah. I yeah, I that was my only issue with that. Like, it's not like I don't view Kyle Lowry has had a fantastic career. Like,
for sure.
um, you know, super accomplished. Philadelphia through and through, North Philly guy, Cardinal Doherty grad. You know what I
Right?
mean? Like, just and having him around and uh, I can see the value in it, but like you said, like I just don't. You know, why do we need him having a roster spot? He doesn't really play. He's just kind of in. He's a coach, but in uniform. It's a weird kind
Yeah,
of, you know what I mean? And so like having him just like a part of Nurse's staff, I mean, would be probably just the best way to go about it. I mean,
yeah,
if you want to have him around, because he definitely has something to offer. I mean, him and
for
Maxie
sure.
seem very close, and Maxie seems to lean
Yeah,
on him for advice and stuff like that. And that's a good
yeah. I
guy.
mean, you see them in situations where there are big plays. He's the first guy off the bench. When you
Yeah,
see, like if there's something that doesn't kind of make sense on the court,
yeah,
he's the first guy to meet one of those guys with the arm around him, kind of talking in his ear.
mm,
Like, I love that. I love what that can be for these young guys as they move into these roles. Um, I don't know. I think, again, I think about how this team is going to evolve. Um,
yeah,
I think you're gonna need to find some legitimate like post presence
mm,
from somewhere.
yeah,
Um, and I think that is going to come. And I don't know, Mark, if that's something that it comes from a trade. It's probably going to come via a trade. I know that like Jared McCain is a trade piece, and essentially that he's at a position where you have depth,
mm,
but you're also looking at Quentin Grimes, who is on a 1 year deal. And does he have more value? Do you want to keep McCain around because you want him to grow with this young group? And Quentin
yeah,
Grimes is going to, in the offseason, probably not going to stick around and take a 1 year deal again.
right,
Um, I think maybe that's where you might be able to package a Quentin Grimes
mm,
and picks and maybe get some kind of low post presence.
yeah,
Um, just something more consistent than what you have because you can't continue to go into these games, right? You can't count on Embiid's health for any extensive stretch of time. Andre Drummond is doing what he can with what he has. Adim Bona is what he is. I just think that for a team that has aspirations of kind of getting back in, essentially like the Flyers, back into that mix of being in a playoff conversation, you're going to need that guy at some point in time.
Yeah, yeah, and I think if I were to say today, I would imagine you would stick with the youth. You would keep McCain,
Yeah.
and because Grimes was looking to get paid last year, deservedly so. He
And
played very well,
very well. Yeah, absolutely.
and the Sixers. I don't know. I don't even know if it was that the Sixers weren't comfortable with paying him. It was just that like there's only so much money going around, and you know what I mean. And so they settle on the 1 year um, uh, thing, and he might be attractive in that aspect to a team that's a little bit more up against it in terms of money,
Yeah.
and uh, you know you can add something in that regard. Um, the good thing is, I think Legwich's best case scenario with this entire start to the season, it's like there are things like that this group still has. Like, there's a lot of things they need to work through and figure out.
Very much
Um,
so.
but 70 games left in the season and you're 7-5. If you would have told me that in the summertime with all the things that we talked about in terms of individual performances, I would
For
have been
sure.
a lot. I would have been like, absolutely, I'll take that. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
what we're gonna see. And so, uh, yeah, I mean that's obviously something that we'll see how that kind of plays out as the season rolls along. But I would imagine today you'd want to, you invested a first rounder
Yeah.
in McCain, and I think you would want to you want to give him every opportunity to grow into uh, something as good or better than a Quentin Grimes, and that in some respect he's somewhat expendable in that sense because he's a player that's proven that he can be good
Yeah.
and give you offense and all those other things, shoot the basketball, all that stuff. But he's also, um, in in a sport where like the money always has to match and things like
Yeah.
that. Being on a 1 year deal and making what he's making, I think is, would be a part of that value. That you try to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So
Yeah, I would agree. And when you look at their last, the last group of, the last 2 years worth of draft picks, they've done a really good job at, selecting guys where they are, right? Obviously Edgecombe is far and away the leader in the clubhouse, right? But you pick him at number 3 and he's giving you the type of production that you would expect a guy that's picked in the top 5 of the draft. But then last year, right, you're getting contributions from Jared McCain and Adim Bona. Um, I like the fact that you are able to pick guys kind of where you are, right? Because you pick guys like the Jared McCain pick is at 16, the Adim Bona pick is at 41.
mhm.
Um, you're getting contributions from guys like that, right? And to go all the way back to 2020, right? You grab Maxi. Now, right, that's the COVID year, but you grab Maxi at pick 21. You have a decent history of bringing in these guys and being able to develop them, which is kind of what you need to see as you start to evolve this roster. And now you're looking at a team that is hanging around. They're they're competitive,
Mhm.
right? It is not. It is not even. This team doesn't even come close to resembling the dumpster fire that we saw last year, where they had like 57 different starting lineups,
Yeah.
and there were guys on in this. I can't even say on the roster. There were guys in the starting lineup that we didn't even know were NBA players.
Yeah.
Um, and it showed on the court because it just wasn't, you were down there and, things were just not competitive at all. Um, I like where this team is going and I like the evolution of where they can get to. Because if they keep it up, you're looking at a team that can remain competitive in the East. And we talked about it over the summer, Mark. It's not going to be hard to stay competitive in the East this year.
Right.
All of the talent, I shouldn't say all, a lot of the talent is in the West.
Mm.
And it looks like Oklahoma City has kind of picked up right where they left off, starting the
Yeah.
season 12-1. You got the Nuggets and Rockets right behind them. The Lakers are playing, better. But there's a lot of talent. Minnesota's another team, that's going to come on. San Antonio is a team to watch.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors are kind of what they are. They've got an interesting collective of youth and experience. But in the Eastern Conference, right, it really is based on the injuries. It really is a conference that is really up for the grabs. Because you've got Detroit playing about as well as anybody at 11-2 to start the season. But then you've got the Knicks and the Hawks and the Cavs and the Bucks in the same conversation with the Sixers early on in the season. They're all kind of playing about the same. Boston has kind of fell off because they're kind of feeling the effects of that Tatum injury. Is there a team in the East that we're not talking about now that you think could come on and I'll describe it as like a playoff disruptor?
Yeah, let me look at I was looking at this earlier, but you see the standings. It closed the tab on me, and I was in the middle of looking at it. But
you want me to run it down for you?
I have it now. I have it up.
Okay.
Honestly, I kind of the Magic are just on the outside. I think that Magic team's pretty decent, but the team that's kind of like I think that what I kind of like the group that the Hornets have put together. Like
Okay.
Charlotte kind of like I'm like in the right situation, like they got LaMelo, they have other guys that can get buckets. Knipel's there now, and I saw he hit a big shot the other night, and
Yeah, you got
lately,
Miles. You got Miles Bridges. You got Brandon Miller. You got Colin Sexton.
yeah, like I kind of like the collection of talent there,
Okay.
and I think in the right situation where like things kind of break the right way. I mean, they're like I think they're like 4-8 right now,
Yeah.
but definitely a team that I think could like they could like if it once it comes together, I think it'll like snap together for them, and you'll
Okay.
start to see them really kind of hit a stride. So I'm the Magic number one, but I think I have my eye on Charlotte too to kind of be like another team that could break in there.
Okay. Listen, I think
Yeah.
Miami is a team in the bottom, and we're talking about teams in the bottom half.
Mm,
Miami is a team. Charlotte certainly has pieces that you can kind of talk yourself into those conversations. Orlando, to me, they got a lot of the offseason hype that they were the next up that they were going to kind of jump everybody, and they've kind of played status quo. Their offseason additions had, and again, we're talking about 13 games, right? But
mm,
they're not playing the way that we thought that they could potentially play, kind of like what we're seeing from Detroit.
yeah,
Um, you're seeing this East is the top of this East at the end of the season is going to look very, very different than I think it has in years past when you've seen a very static group of like it was always some combination of like Bucks, Celtics, Knicks, Cavs, like some combination of those four teams was
yeah.
always kind of like in the mix at the top of the East. I'm curious to see how this plays out, but it definitely opens the door for teams like the Sixers that have
Sure.
the talent, and again, they could be in the conversation for a piece to add, kind of like, you remember what happened with Cleveland when they added Jared Allen,
Mm.
when they made the trade and brought him over from Brooklyn,
Yeah.
what that did for them, and it gave them kind of that low post presence that he
Yes.
wasn't going to, he's not going to dominate, but he can give you more than what you're getting right now. I think a
Mm.
move like that might be kind of what they might do.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. And I think to go back to like not even back to last night's game, but also just like you mentioned Detroit. I mean, off to that like torrid start that they're off
Mm,
to start this season and all, and like um they have a lot of talent, and they
yeah.
play. They all kind of fit that like, which is I think is a testament to the front office and stuff. They
Uh-huh.
all kind of fit that like motif of like that Detroit basketball. Like they're tough, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? And
very much
like
so,
Isaiah Stewart kind of sets the tone in that sense, and like
for sure.
there was some of that made I think in the post game. I don't know if you saw last night's post game, but
A little bit.
there was a little bit of talk about, I guess, like Isaiah Stewart had made a mention that he thought the Sixers laid down for them, that
Oh,
they were like this, the Pistons picked up the physicality in the second half.
I
And
mean, it was apparent, right? And
yeah,
going back and watching the highlights this morning, right? Late, mid to late in the fourth, they were still sprinting. They
yeah,
were up and down the court, and you saw them have the ability to be able to create that separation late. And then the Sixers just were chasing them. They were chasing that. They were always in that like 6 to 9 point behind,
yeah,
and they could just never make any inroads
yeah.
because they were just matching them bucket for bucket. Um,
Yeah, I
let
think the Sixers have to pick up too, like as like a something that I think needs to improve here for over the next like um, really for the rest of the year. But I mean, like their third quarters have been atrocious.
really bad
They're playing very good 3 out of the 4 quarters, but their third quarter has been so poor.
for sure.
Um, and that happened against Boston earlier this week. Um, where they come out, they have a large lead in the third. They let Boston get hot. Game
Right.
gets, they flipped the game on its head. Last night they had a 12-point lead, I think, heading into the like coming out of this for the second half. That
Yeah.
disappeared. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
have to kind of. It's going to happen. It's a
Right.
game of runs. I get that, but you can't have that such a large disparity in like point differential in a quarter.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah,
You
I
know,
think like last night, the two guys that kind of stood out for me in terms of like big additions for Detroit, the addition of Duncan Robinson and the addition of Karis LeVert
Mhm.
really do a lot to spread the court for this team. And when you look at a guy like Cade Cunningham, right, and that's a guy that they took at the top of the draft, um, he doesn't play last night, but you see how their ability to be able to spread the court really
Mhm.
does create the offensive opportunities for them.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, like they didn't have Cade, they didn't have Jalen Duren. I don't think played last night.
No. Mm-mm.
So they were down a number of guys, but um, they play within like when Detroit's good, they play within that like Detroit, that
Yeah.
bad boys kind of
Oh, very much so.
attitude. You know what I mean? And it's like an organizational philosophy, which I think is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And listen, like that game last night, right? They don't have a guy score over 21,
yeah,
right? In a game where you score 114 points, which is kind of around the league average,
right,
but right, you had, I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in double digits.
yeah.
You got production up and down the lineup,
Mhm.
which is it's a good model to follow for this team.
Yeah, And that's a good point to kind of bring it back around to the Sixers. Obviously, you look at a team like Oklahoma City, and like a lot of teams are building that way now, where it was like if you have two or more skills that contribute to like winning basketball, you just go out and you acquire them, whether it's through the draft, free agency trades, however you want to go about it.
Yep,
Um, you just keep adding players like that, where it's like, I don't want to say that it's specialized, but it's kind of like you have to have, you know, if you can add some of those things, like you said about the Sixers kind of finding like a low post interior presence, if you can find somebody like that who has like excels in two skill sets or excels at two skills that this team needs,
right.
with Bona and Drummond around, Embiid when he's right, you know what I mean? It's like kind of like that'll be more than enough, and that'll help shape your identity as a team. You know what I mean? And a lot of those teams that are good now and at the top of the conferences, they're built like that.
For
Where
sure.
they have like a number of guys that contribute in a variety of different ways, multiple skills, multiple categories. So
Very much. Mark, what anything we missed Sixers wise? I know we kind of touched on a little bit of everything.
yeah, I think just to wrap up like about last night's game too, like in that comment that Isaiah Stewart made. I know that Maxey kind of uh, you know went back with like, hey, like I think the quote was something like, I read it this morning, but I think it was Maxey had made a comment of like, you got to be physical back, and I
You
think
got to
once
match it
again, like Tyrese has grown from like a leadership standpoint on the floor, off the floor. Tyrese Maxey's played like and has carried himself like a professional that he never wants to play in a season like last year again. You know what I mean? And
I can imagine.
he's but like his attitude, he's taking that, it feels like, and everything he felt last year, and he's making sure that this group doesn't, and that's the sign of, I think, of a leader. And I'm just really overall impressed. I have no problem admitting that I think like I did not think Tyrese had a level like this. I didn't think of him like this is like MVP caliber play.
For sure.
And and also to know that he's kind of like also like the vocal tone in the room is really cool. And
Yeah, I mean, you saw it, Mark. I think you saw a little bit of that a couple of seasons ago, last season, when he calls out Embiid, when the news comes out that he kind of calls out Embiid
yeah, that was last year.
for last year. So I think we saw a little bit of a glimpse in that. I think this offseason kind of gave him the opportunity to be like, got this.
Yeah.
I'm on it.
We talked about that too, I think, over the summer, where we were really hoping that with VJ and all getting drafted and the mentality he has, that we could have somebody in here that kind of like takes the reins, like, hey, this is my team.
Right.
And Tyrese has stepped up in that role. And it's really cool to watch. And I hope that it continues, and because it'll be good for the Sixers, and if he could be in that conversation, in that all NBA conversation, I mean, that's a big deal.
I think that's a good place to leave off, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, enjoy your go out, enjoy your fall Saturday. It's some nice fall weather. This is like it's like the perfect combination. This is like if you can tolerate like a shorts and hoodie kind of season.
Yeah.
But as we approach, we'll check in with you in a couple weeks and kind of give you the update for all things Sixers and Flyers. So on the way out, Mark, I guess listen, they're playing well enough. Go Sixers.
Yeah, absolutely.